Good evening. Welcome to Happily Married, Happily Single. Which one are you? I am one of your hosts, Kimba White Dupree, and we are getting ready to add in Dr. Brian Turner so that we can get this conversation started. I don't know. Seems like we're having some technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on.
Check one, check two.
Yes,
There it is. The devil is busy, child. The devil is busy. Let's get
it's
this
doing a
conversation.
lot of weird uh
Mhm.
technology hiccups tonight. I don't know. That's odd. But
Let's get it.
anyway, we are here to have tonight's conversation about um, how important is it to tell the truth about what you want in a relationship, and like it's barriers if you don't, I guess, because I think that we're finding out that people are saying that they want one thing, but when they get into the relationship, that's not quite exactly what it is that they want to do or are looking for. So go ahead and give your take on it, and then we'll kind of toss it back and forward because it's been an interesting 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, the impetus for the question is also really about um, how do we really tell the truth about what we want and how we get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, if we're honest about it, people have always said, like, if you just say what you want, you should be able to get it. But
Yeah.
what's the reality? That's not really how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you may not get what you want if you ask, but in the world we live in, isn't that a part of the dilemma? Is that you just may not get it. You may
Right.
have to do a little work, right? Um, question for you: in a
Yes.
marital relationship, what's the pathway for you all to get what you want? How do you ensure that you're going to get what you want?
In my marriage,
Uh huh.
um, I mean, it varies because there are so there are things that he knows that I do not I don't have to explain anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's just automatic.
Uh-huh.
I if it comes to certain food options, there's certain things I don't eat. There's certain things he doesn't eat. Um, but our biggest, not even challenge, but our biggest situation right now is that because I've sort of changed careers or gotten into a different career, getting him accustomed to being in social situations more frequently,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because truth be told, I am happy at home, just sitting at home. I am cool with just chilling out at home, and he's definitely a homebody who's satisfied with being at home. But because of the job and because of the exposure, I gotta go places. I
Mm-hmm.
don't force him to go places, and also if I'm going to be completely consumed in being involved in certain situations, I don't
Uh-huh.
force him to go. But there's certain things that it's like, no, I need you with me on. I need you with me because I don't know what it is that I'm going to be facing. I don't know who it is that I'm going to be involved in. And while
Mm-hmm.
other people could protect me, I want you here with me. And I have
Yeah.
to be specific in saying that. I want you here with me, not just somebody else to do it. So I have to be direct. I have to be completely transparent, and that comes with a place of vulnerability that I don't know that I felt comfortable in saying when we were dating.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
while we were dating, I was a comfortable adult, accustomed to doing things by myself, or I had not insulated but had created or had my own space of people who were taking care of me,
Uh-huh.
that I didn't have to say to somebody else, I need your help. But
Right.
definitely now I have to say to him, like, I know I need you, or I want
Uh-huh.
you. and be very clear about that. And
Yeah.
otherwise, it doesn't really happen.
So what I'm hearing from the marital standpoint is that it didn't happen overnight,
Absolutely not.
and it happened through probably some trial and errors, but also some practice in terms of how to say it, how to feel comfortable, and how to be open, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think about from my side, right? I asked that question to kind of play with the talk. The thought, right, is that I hear a lot of conversation around just tell me what you want up front, right? And we'll see what happens. And so I think about how often we are afraid to tell people we want because we're afraid it will either scare them away or we might get it, right?
I think it's a free the exposure. Like we all want to appear like we got it, which is weird to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there's not a whole lot of things that we do just on our own. I mean,
Right,
self taking care of yourself for the most part. You do that by yourself. But when it
right,
comes to projects or when it comes to other endeavors, like what happens when you're in a group project and somebody doesn't do their part? It looks like they're not going to do their part.
right,
You do it yourself,
right,
but it also it doesn't require you to trust people while you're yeah, it doesn't require you to trust people. So we
mm,
don't have an active practice in trust because
right. But if you're
we get
single,
let
right?
down.
And so I said that because, like you said, though, you alluded to how even in a marital relationship, right, you still have to learn to let go. And so, what I think about for myself and our single viewers and where we are is that you have to have a little bit of a process,
Hmm.
right? And that process has to be based in your reality. Oftentimes, I find myself thinking, so I want things to happen this way, and it don't always happen that way.
Hmm.
You know, what I do think about is if I say that I would like A, B, and C, and you give me B, C, A, or A, C, B, I have to reconcile. Well, does it matter the order that I received it, or does it
Hmm.
matter that I received a complete package? And that's what I think. What I get at around the happily single thing is you have to decide like what's the desired outcome. Do you want A, B, C in whatever order you can get it, or does it have to be in that order? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that lends itself back to our previous conversation of like your list situation. Like, what is it that you want? But then, do we have a prioritization of your list? If that makes sense.
Right.
And doing things by myself, or I don't know if I don't know I don't know if we spoke to that the last time we did speak about like what is it? What do you want? How do you
Mm-hmm.
know? Have you like how do you decide this is what you want? But um I don't think we ever determined or even considered that people say, well, if you don't have this, you can't do that.
Well, but isn't that why, if you think about it, we find ourselves in these dilemmas because when people have the opportunity to say what they won't, right? So if we're playing, and I like to play to the side that you're on because it kind of makes sense, right? That you should be able to say to your partner, "Hey, I really want you here. I really want this from you," and your partner can say, "Hey, I'm not able to do that today. However, I really will go next time." Or if you want me to go, this is what you may have to do to make sure I can be there, right?
Hmm.
This is one of the things I would say definitely as a single person, it's a lot harder because of the potential exposure and vulnerability that one might experience, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I think this is where like we have to reassure people that sometimes you got to be okay with kissing a few frogs, and they may not turn into princes or princesses,
Hmm.
right? Because what you said earlier about being afraid, I don't know if people are afraid of being vulnerable. I think people are afraid of getting the wrong thing, and then of course if you think about it, many women talk about past hurts, but many men carry those same past hurt
Oh yeah,
experiences.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
But, but
But
that's
when we talk about that,
uh-huh.
some men don't vocalize that to women,
Right.
which creates a bottleneck. But women, we express it. We express it a lot.
Yeah.
We do. I mean, if you look at your social media page, you're gonna see somebody talking about an ex or a situation that they're in, and then and you know what I'm saying. But
Hmm.
very rarely do you see men expressing their feelings over past hurts,
Well,
and so the communication piece is very important, but we don't get enough of that feedback from men, from what I've seen, and that goes across uh, different backgrounds, ethnic
yeah.
backgrounds. It doesn't matter. Like men have been conditioned to do and not so much say, which is
Yeah.
problematic.
But there's a reason why I would suggest that is because once again, we're not supposed to be soft, right? I mean, when we look at the number of memes or posts about what if a man does this, he's gay. If a man eats dessert, if a man takes a nap, right? Like these things have been posted, but if you think about it, when those things are said to younger men and there's no clarification or like even said as a joke, then men grow up with that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it can manifest itself in ways that we see very well in terms of the lack of a desire to be intimately connected to a woman, but we will want intimacy, right? We don't want an intimate connection, but we want intimacy, right? We don't want a lifelong relationship, but we want to have a relationship where we have sex all the time for our whole lives,
Right, which is not really intimacy. That's an act.
right? But there's a mistaken or there's a differential understanding or definition that men may think, well, intimacy is sex, whereas women think, they usually do think intimacy is holding hands, sitting close to each other, right? But if
Yeah.
the message, but if the message to men is that, oh, if you want to be intimate, like I want to say, I think I don't know. I stopped reading them, but sometimes they pop up with the if a man does this is gay, or if a man does this is soft, and it turns into a thing. Well, what can men do that's not gay, or what can men do that will do that? Because that's the thing. Now, and once again, I'm saying this from the single position because I think when people get married, they've overcome a lot of this, foolishness, this like immaturity, right? But I think that's the crazy part for the nice topic is that this probably leads to me more to what has to happen if you want to go from happily single to happily married. You have to be able to say that you're gonna have this conversation about, hey, I really want to be in a monogamous exclusive relationship and say that. But also, and we talked about this a little bit before, but if that person is not following through with that, then you have to say, hey, you're not giving me what I want, and I'm going to step away.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can ask you for something if you don't get it. If I don't get it, now it's incumbent upon me to be the one to make the decision that this is not where I need to be.
Right, which a lot of people have not taken the ownership, or it takes a while for people to take ownership about what it is that they're willing to deal with, because the trade-off is being with somebody or
Yeah,
being with anybody or having somebody be
yeah,
close by. So as long as I get somebody who will do these particular things,
right,
then some other behaviors are more easy to be ignored. Another
right.
thing is that we often see that I like in the four agreements, it says that people often abuse themselves, and therefore they will be with someone who will, as long as they don't abuse me more than I already abused myself, then you can be the person that's still there. And
Yeah,
we see that way too often, but we don't know that the self abuse is going on. But if you pay attention to people who remain in relationship with, that'll kind of give you a clue or a key of this person is not valuing themselves, so therefore the behaviors that they are accepting is below how they should be, how they think they should be treated.
Kimba, say, Brian, you're glad I said that, aren't you? Say that for me. Say, Brian, you're glad I said that, aren't you?
Brian, you're glad I said that, aren't you?
Kimba, yes, I'm so glad you said that, because so often, and I'm gonna go to Dr. Turner mode, right? In therapy, oftentimes when I work with couples, individuals, one of the things we talk about is past hurt, trauma, grief, loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't just say trauma, right? We have to be honest. Past loss, grief, trauma, drama, right? Because what you just alluded to is a very issue that oftentimes people will do. They will self-sabotage,
Mm-hmm.
right? They will create a situation or a circumstance where they will very quickly say, you know what, this person is too good for me, or this person really don't want me, or you know what, let me do all of the things that I know that are problematic to see if this person will stay,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that breeds toxicity and unhealthiness. And so I've seen couples try to stay together through that. And what happens is it becomes the culture of the relationship.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Because I think I posted something a while ago. It was like, I gotta stress you out first to see if you gonna stay. And
right.
that had been, I know, in my dating past, I definitely, hell, in dating Kamara, it was like, are you
Mm-hmm.
tough enough? Because, if you can handle this, then you be all right. Or if you can be delicate with this portions of when I am at my worst,
Mm-hmm.
then I know that you'll take care of me in my better spaces. But yeah, it definitely can be a place of self-sabotage.
And that
Um,
is so unhealthy, ma'am. That is
I
so
know,
unhealthy.
I agree. I know, I'm very aware. I knew what I was doing then.
So for me, I mean, I'll be vulnerable where like I didn't understand this until I got older, but I used to think it was a bad thing to be told I was a good boy. I didn't have any drama, and that's why girls or women didn't want to date me, right? And I thought that was problematic until I got to the point I was like, wait a minute. So I'm easy, right?
Mhm.
I
You're
want to
not.
just have fun, huh?
You're not. You're not easy. You're quite complicated. You are. You are. If we're gonna tell the truth, we're gonna tell the truth. I mean, I love you dearly, but you are not easy. But continue.
Well, I'm a open. I'm easy to open, complicated to read. How about that?
There you go. All right,
So,
I'll go with that. I'll go with
so,
that.
but my ease is this. I'm gonna tell you what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the mountain it ain't no molehill, right? It ain't no anthill. It's a mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not gonna lie about it. I'm gonna be direct and be open, right? So think about what you said, right? So even in that complicatedness that I can present sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that actually I think is insurmountable. And I say this all the time. I'll do hard and difficult, right? But I won't do complicated. So I'll concur that I'm not complicated. I think I'm difficult. I think I'm quite difficult.
Okay.
Stop it.
I
Stop
mean,
it. Stop it.
I'll let you slide with that one. But I don't know.
But here's the reason why. Here's the reason why. When we talk about moving through the process of relationships and interactions and stuff, we can't hide from our potential partner, or our spouse or whatever, right? And I think that's the part that we were just talking about is when I'm coming, Lachelle. I'll give you my difference in a second, right? I think that's what can be complicated. That's really what I was gonna say, Lachelle, is that like I think when people hide things, right? So I think when men and women date, and I'm being heterocentric for a second, right? It turns into a thing of, well, I'm not gonna tell her I have some financial problems because I don't want her to think about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you get further down the road and it's like, hey, babe, look, I really don't have such and such and such. Well, now the person is in a relationship and they may feel obligated per se to deal with it, right? And I'm not saying you have to put all your business on Front Street from day one, But
Right.
when you know who you are and what you are, you got to think, well, I don't want to hide something, because the flip of that is, obviously, if you tell me you in buku debt and you ain't got no money, I'm leaving, because I'm gonna
On the
feel like you
beginning,
got it.
on the
Right,
beginning, on the front end for sure.
right. So my difference, Michelle, is I think this way. For me, people are actually willing to do stuff that is hard or difficult if the outcome is equal to the effort needed to deal with it, right? But people don't want to do complicated, because see, complicated is, today you said your favorite color was red, and tomorrow it's green, and then Saturday is purple. So what happens is, if every day is a guessing game, that's complicated. But if you tell me your favorite color is blue, right? Well, the difficult part might be, let's figure out which shade of blue that is.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as I'm playing with blue, we still in the same ballpark.
Right.
That would be the difference for me, is that I think people engage in complicated relationship and interactional patterns because they're not even sure of what they want. They're not even sure of how to really express themselves. Whereas people who are confident, they're going to tell you. It may be hard, it may be difficult, but they're not going to play games about it. They're not going to move the goalposts. They're going to let it be. Hey, I like blue, right? And you may play some games around blue. And actually, I would even allude to, sometimes this is what first time intimacy may be like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Person may not tell you everything that they like in their bedroom, right?
Right.
So you have to do a little bit of work. But Kimber, you said something earlier, and this is where it turns to. That's where communication comes into play.
Correct.
Right?
Because that once you have an idea of what you want, and the person is not able to find what it is that you want on their own, then at some point you have to give some direction.
Right.
And
Some
that's
guy.
in all of all facets of it, right? So
Right.
I do most of the cooking in the house. Um and not that Kamara can't cook. It's
Yeah.
everybody prefers mine more, right? But then he can
Hater.
grill like nobody's business, because I do
Oh,
not know how to do that. But as
okay.
far as the cooking piece of it, yeah, I am the person who does that.
Mhm.
However, when it comes to ordering things, I don't have a really good focus on organization
Mhm.
all the time. So that
Mhm.
is something that he takes on, and I go with it because that is what your strength is. Let's go to that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so in the relationship where we figured out whose strength is what, and we play to those strengths,
Yeah.
because we had to toss out the idea of gender roles, because with the gender roles of what a societal situation would be, or what a religious view of what a gender role would be, that didn't
Mhm.
work for us. It did not work for us. And so we figured out, okay, you're good at this, you're good at this, you're good at this, you're good at this. You take lead on this, I will follow through behind you. And that's how we move, because neither one of us has to do everything,
Right. Right.
and you get a break, because I think that constant going and going and going and going, that will burn you out. I gotta go get the dogs. They're knocking on the window. I'll be right back. So
All
yeah, I
right.
guess you can leave that piece.
Good. I'll take this. So then, if we're earnest about what happens in this moment, we are at a loss, because if people don't take into account the different abilities that they have, the different capacities. So as Kimber was saying, right, in a relationship, you got to have a hard conversation. Who's good at what and who's not good at things? Who has an exceptional ability versus who has an average ability? A good point also is to think that there's nothing wrong with sharing duties, but this also calls for us to get outside of what might be our socially constructed perspectives, or our socialization around what people say, Um, and I think a lot about that in terms of why specifically men can find themselves in unhealthy relationships because we're more concerned about what people say, right? We have to be the primary breadwinner. We have to be the ones to be or act in a certain way. And that leads us to be in unhealthy spaces because it's very easy that the partner could be able to handle business, right? So if I'm not good with the money, while I might be the breadwinner, I can't take the perspective that well, I don't want her to know how much I make, so I'm gonna just mess up the money, right? Because I might be able to give her or my partner the reins of the checkbook, and we do way better financially, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my point, Kimba, if I think you heard me, was saying that that's where we have to be honest that the two individuals working towards a relationship or that are in the relationship have to be the ones to define the parameters for success. Who's
Yeah.
supposed to lead on this duty? Who's going to lead on other duties? And what are duties that require both persons' input and agreement? And what are ones where it says, okay, but I just need you to explain to me why we're doing it this way so I can follow you and I'll agree or I'll just know this is the plan, right?
Yeah.
Um, but that's the part for me where as we think about it, right? And this, I think this, I don't know if I don't know. This is a hard topic now that we're in it and we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about it. But I think this is the hard part for people to understand that, like, especially when you've been happy single, right? It's hard to give up the reins on the things you've been doing by yourself. It's
Really?
hard to, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look, let's be honest, right? When you're able to go and when you want and come when you want and wake up when you want and you can eat what you want and you don't have to check for someone else. That's a new kind of development in one's life. And of course, we know the older we get, the harder it might become to do that, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I
See a
think
comment that says, not if you want to share your life.
no,
So,
I I think that's appropriate, but once again, I might want to share my life, but who am I sharing it with?
so let's say this, right? As a 46-year-old, and watching my friends date,
Uh-huh.
it is it's a wowing thing to watch people in their 40s date. One, because by the time you're 40, you have a good idea of who you are. And
Good and bad.
yeah. And so to some degree, you've had enough situations or relationship situations that make you almost relationship averse because it's like I'm okay over here. I don't want to rock the boat or with what I have going on myself. However, the desire to share and be partnered is still there because who doesn't like to interact with someone when they're not, when they're finished doing the things that they do. So, but it's weird how that goes around and round because it's like I want to, but I don't want to. I'm interested, but this looks crazy, so let me run. So it's an
Hmm.
interesting like back and forth. Um, yeah, it's an interesting back and forth on like you want to, but then what's happening here? Stop that.
Double dutch. Yep. It's the double dutch jumping,
Yes,
right? It's the
yes.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So here's a question for you. Here's a question for you, and I think you shared this with me, so I'm not going to say I know. I'm gonna pretend I'm surprised. What was
mhm.
the thing for you that 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 you was going to be okay with marriage, that you didn't have to have that fear? Was it one
Um,
time thing, or was it an
no, it
accumulation
was
of?
several different things. So consistency is very important to me,
Uh huh.
regardless of what you're consistent about. If you're consistent about that, that makes me comfortable. That makes me feel safe.
Uh huh.
Um, Showing up when you say you're going to show up, important. And if you can't do it, say you can't do it. We're good.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I'm not a big person who requires a whole lot, because again, I had been single, so like I had figured out and made situations and avenues and tunnels for me to be comfortable with me. So adding somebody to it needed to not disturb that piece, but add to that piece, and vice versa. I don't want to disrupt what you have going on. I need to be able to contribute to your life without disrupting it. So, for instance, friendships. As adults, we have different types of friendships, right? He has women friends. I have male friends, and it tends to be acceptable for you to have friends of the same sex that often don't make your partner uncomfortable. But when you have friends of the opposite sex, it tends to raise an eyebrow. That needed to
Mm-hmm.
be something that was really a comfortableness, or something that he understood. Like, I have most of my very close friends are guys, and even now, um, we have guy friends, and he still has he has female friends. If it was going to be a situation of jealousy, I wasn't going to be able to I wasn't going to be able to deal with that, because these are people who have constantly shown up for me. And so
Mm-hmm.
my relationship with him could not disrupt what my life. I in being paired or partnered does not mean I give up who I am to
Mm-hmm.
be in that relationship. I do
Mm-hmm.
need to make some compromises where things are uncomfortable for him, but not
Yeah.
just give up my whole life. And especially like now, I looked at like some of my social media. I'm constantly with men. And if I was with somebody who was always like, well, who is that and why, that would never, we would be in big trouble right now if we had that as a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I know who I am. Uh I know I need to come home and feel like I can put my day down here.
Mm-hmm.
So once I put my day down and you can put your day down, then we can do what it is that we normally do, which is like we are really home, veg on the sofa, watch TV kind of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we have that space to continue to be in with each other, then that is our safe space. That is our home. That is
Mm-hmm.
how we recharge. But if I couldn't find somebody to do that with, I probably would still be single, because you cannot disturb what's already working for me as an adult. And then when I add you in, I gotta completely overhaul my life.
I'm so glad you said that, especially as a woman, right? I hear a lot of men take that pathway and saying, I'm not going to give it a woman that's going to take away or just going to take from what I have. But I think that's another guiding principle that women experience as well, right? Is the ideal of, so if we're going to be together, then does and we've talked about this, right, a little bit here, where I say, the second level for me in relationship is presence and presence.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, does your presence in my life, is it a gift, i.e., a present,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you're not a gift, then that means you're what? A liability.
Mm-hmm.
That means you're not an asset. That means you're
Right.
not an addition. That means you're subtraction or division.
You're gonna cost me something.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're going to come to the point where not even cost you something, but you're going to actually become detrimental to what I already have.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, like, I joke about when people talk about prenups and these agreements, right? It's like, well, definitely it should be kind of common knowledge that if I had a dollar before I met you, if we break up, you don't get half of my dollar. But if we've been together for a while and I made $10, well, okay, maybe you
I,
get
I'm
five.
entitled to. I'm entitled to share. I'm required to share that with you
Right, right,
because we
because
built this.
our collaboration was what brought that, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
think the same way about our emotional and spiritual and psychological state
Mm-hmm.
in relationships, right? That if you come into my life and you become a liability to me emotionally, if you become a liability to me psychologically, if you become a liability to me spiritually, then I have to at some point protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think for the happily or unhappily single individuals, right? That's what's scary, is that at some point, if you have to give that up, then at what cost do you give that up for, right? How
Mhm.
how how big is the prize? That's what I would ask our viewers and those who watch this would be. You got to determine how big does the prize need to be for you to finally take that leap, right? And of course, I'm the single one here. I'm speaking both how I try to practice, but also what I practice in my practice of therapy. And that at some point in time, you also can say, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's fair.
And if you meet somebody and they're like, so what's it gonna take? You say, well, look, right now I'm just not sure. I'm dating, I'm open. If we get to a point where it, I guess, knocks me over, I'm like, damn, I finally got what I want, right? Or if
Mhm.
you get to the point and say, hey, like I really like you and all, but I'm not feeling that this is gonna get to where maybe we thought it would. So, if you're okay with us just dating and hanging out from time, that's fine. But if you know that you want more, then I'm gonna have to say this probably ain't gonna get there, right? To me, that's a very important part for us to think about as well. Like, what will be the cost, and what happens if that cost isn't realized, or if that cost does manifest?
But this is the other piece of it, right? People have to hear what the person is saying and watch their actions, because they can't just listen to what they're saying and not pay attention to what their actions show.
Right,
So
right.
I remember in college I dated a guy who would constantly say, like, I was like, well, what are we? And he would be like, we're friends. And it's like, are we friends? Okay, sit down. I done rubbed you enough, baby. um uh my my third child is
Uh-huh.
climbing in my lap. So
Got
anyway,
it.
um yeah, the we're friends, but our actions, the things that we are up to, is not friendly. It's not something I would do with my friends. Okay, all right, get down, get down. I love you. He is like so serious. Look, he's
Oh,
like,
he ain't trying to
I
do
want
that.
love. I want love.
You,
Love
you know
me.
what? See,
Hug
that's why I
me.
said we have to go to the weeks I don't have Blair, so that I
Right.
don't have Blair skating at Nautica what you got.
Yeah, exactly. Because nobody else is here. Normally, Kamara and Imari will
Yeah.
like entertain them, and he's like, "No, now you gonna do it. All right, get down, sit." Because he is seriously like, love on me right now.
Yeah, but
But yeah, um, and so he kept saying, "We're friends, we're friends, we're friends," and I was like, "All right, cool, we're friends," and I'm gonna behave as I would with a friend. And it was like,
uh-huh.
no, but I want those things. And it's like, I'm not going to grant you access to those things because
Yeah.
no. Like, if we're going to be friends, then let me show you what friendship with me looks like. And it's less these other things that you like.
Right, right. Because those things come with a cost.
Right.
If you want to access that part of me, then what? And I hate saying cost because then that sounds
It
funny.
is
But
a cost, because
but
when you expose pieces of yourself to other people, that is a cost. That is a cost to your
yeah,
emotions. That's a cost to your mental, like, because it's
yeah,
almost like a
yeah,
mind fuck. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, you're telling me this one thing, we're friends, but I see
So
you every
so
day. We're with each other every
right.
day. You don't want to be without my company, but
Hmm.
then we're friends. So then,
So
like, pick a struggle here. And that's fine. We could be friends, but like, being friends with me is going to look a different way
right. Well,
if
and
that's
that's
all we are.
why, like you said earlier, it's about the communication, right? At every point, and one of the things I think about, and I had to learn this in some past situations, was not an answer or no answer is an answer, right? If I ask a question and you don't respond, or your response is I don't know, or your response is I haven't thought about that, or your response is I'll tell you later, and that never comes, that's an answer. You
Right.
know, that is a response. That response is saying to me, I haven't thought about it. I'm probably not going to think about it, and yeah, you're not going to get an answer from me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I say that because, in a very like just crass way, that becomes some of the reality of what we have to deal with, right? Is that sometimes you can be as earnest and as transparent as you want to be,
Mm-hmm.
but an individual may decide that you don't deserve that. And
Right.
and and then the question becomes, how many times do you have to hear that before you decide, okay, I'm not going to get this from this individual, so I'm gonna stop asking for it.
Right. Right.
Right.
But I think, and I have been guilty of this too. If I do XYZ, then I can change your mind.
Mm.
If I continue to do
A lot
this,
of people think that.
you'll finally see that I am the one that you are considering, and I'll get you to flip. Right?
But why do people think that?
Nah, I don't know. I know for me, it was laziness. Like, I don't feel like starting all over again.
So transparent. I felt like that with my father. Right. This is not a
Uh-huh.
romantic relationship, but up until I was about 30, I thought that if I was just an awesome son and amazing and all this great stuff, my dad would somehow realize, oh, my son is awesome, and I've been making mistakes and messing up. And it wasn't until an interaction I had with him that I realized he was not going to change his perception, because if he did, that meant he was going to have to admit he was wrong. And that's what I like what you're saying. I want to put out there, right? Is that if you keep trying to convince a person of your greatness and awesomeness, they probably will never admit to that, because that means they'll have to admit you're awesome. And that means
Mhm.
they'll have to admit that they ain't all that. And unfortunately, sometimes we already know that ain't all that.
Right. Right. Yeah. I got to the point. Well, and nobody can tell you that you're tired till you're tired. And
Mm.
ultimately, with that situation, and probably with your dad, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like, you know what? I don't do this no more. And it's almost like a revelation. Like, this dumb. All right, I'm gonna head out.
Kimba, that was it, right? At 30 years old, I'm getting ready to walk across stage with my PhD, and I'm thinking, man, you done all this stuff. You just gotta admit it. He ain't gonna change.
Right.
And if I keep chasing this, right, and I like what Lachelle said in terms of auditioning, and I think that's what people do. Now, I think what's interesting, of course, we like to say that life is a stage, right? And what matters is, are you an actor or are you the audience,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because in many ways, most of us will actually we will audition for roles that we think are worth it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We're willing to audition. I mean, in essence, that's what dating can be, right? But the question becomes, when are you auditioning for a starring role, and when are you auditioning for an extra?
Mm-hmm. Well, if you notice, the extras never really require an audition; they just show up, and that's what we have to pay attention to, how people come into our lives. Is this something that you? Is this somebody that you're looking at and you're considering, or is this somebody just a placeholder? Because that's ultimately what an extra is.
And look, that's why. And so that, and I love that analogy about the stage, because sometimes we have to realize that we're the actual star, and the people that
Mm-hmm.
keep showing up, we're trying to make stars, they're the extras. They're the individuals that we have to say, hey, look, you're here for this part. Once you get your stamp and get your check for the day, you no longer, you wait until I need an
You done
extra.
your job. You done your
Right,
job. And
right,
those are those casual those relationships, like the person who you um I want to go to the movies tonight, so let me call such and such. But after you've gone to the movies with them, you're done. That's an extra. That is not somebody you should be trying to create a relationship with, or develop a
right,
relationship with out of that situation, because
right,
it's not gonna happen, right? Or
right.
I enjoy this person up to a certain degree, because it's some your package is nice. I can bring you multiple places, but something about this thing. I get right to the threshold, and I go,
They're great in terms of the non-speaking parts, but
there
as
you
soon as
go.
you give them a speaking part, they fumble,
Right.
right? They're great for a speaking part, but they're not
Mhm.
an action star.
Right. Correct.
So
All of those different things they
right,
are important.
right. So then what's interesting too, Kimber, is if we think about it as you just said, right? We have to be aware of what we want. That actually was the impetus and the thought for the night's conversation. We started with the idea of why and what can you do to get it. But the reality of it is we have to know. You have to know, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not looking for a relationship, or if your lifestyle or if your current situation is not going to really work with a relationship, why are you telling people, I'm looking for my king, I'm looking for my queen, I'm looking for my forever? No, you're not. No, you're not. You know, we know, everybody around you know that this ain't the time for that. But here you go trying to force something, right? So
Right.
now when your co-star may come along because your whole production crew all jacked up, right? You don't have any writers because they're on strike.
Right.
Now that person who could be your co-star is like, I'm not taking this contract, right? This gonna flop. This gonna go belly up at the box office.
So that's another thing that I want to bring to our attention. People do have some ideas of what they like, right? So I like
Uh-huh.
this, I like that. And for those of us who knew what you want on your checklist, you go through these things and they meet those pieces.
Uh-huh.
Um, Knowing when it's not going further and reminding yourself, I said I want this. I didn't say I want this and I'm willing to accept that or
Right.
accept not having that. And realizing that other people have those standards for themselves, then that would cause us to not waste as much time
Yeah.
um, with investing our time with people. Full
Mhm.
transparency in dating. Yes, I have dated people who looked very aesthetically pleasing, but was like a box of rocks when you was trying to talk to them. I had people who were pretty well off, right? But
Yeah.
complete assholes. Like, I don't want to exchange my happiness for money.
Yeah.
Yes, I might be able to buy whatever I want to buy and be able to get whatever I want to get, but I don't like you.
Right.
Or somebody who works too much. Cause
Yeah.
that's great that you're bringing in all this income, but like when we gonna do the stuff, you know what I'm saying, that we like to do, whether it's go to dinner or make dinner together or
Right.
go for a walk or whatever the case is. If you are showing me signs or showing me behaviors that you have that are not within my list, then I got to get out of that. Or people who are intentionally emotionally unavailable,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you see that you're impacting them and that they're reacting to things that you say, but they are on purpose withholding themselves and that those emotions from you. Yeah, I gotta go, because I shouldn't have to play the game of, well, you don't show your emotions, so then I'm not going to show my emotions, so we don't show each other our emotions. And so what are we doing here? Are we playing chess? Are we playing some other strategic game, which is weird?
Hmm. So, so then what you said, right, comes back to what I think is important in terms of the single side, right? You got to know what you want. And if you don't know what you want, you got to say, okay, I'm working on figuring that part out. I'm
Mm-hmm.
honest about this, right? I don't want to be a part of the figuring out process,
Right.
right? So I'm cool with dating and like you figuring it out, and then once you figure it out, we can talk about it. And if that's what we are, then that's what we are. But if you figure it out, I don't even want to have that conversation. Don't even ask me, well, what are we doing? What are we? No, figure your stuff out. I'm here. I'll support you. I'll be a friend. I'll be a friend with benefits. I'll be whatever it is we decide we want to be. But I don't want to be about the process. And what you said to me was important. Yeah, at 45, like I don't want to be nobody daddy. I'm not trying to be anybody's life coach, right? I want to be your partner, right? I'm
Right.
not trying to be. I'll be a cheerleader, actually, right? Cheerleading is not that bad.
You need
Um,
that in a relationship.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But I don't want to be the person, and this is my point. I don't want to be the person that can take all of the responsibility when things go wrong, but
And
gets
get none of the
minimal
credit.
responsibility when it goes well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That
that's
doesn't that doesn't work. That does not work. And for people who follow me on a regular basis, you'll constantly see where I'm celebrating Kamara.
Yeah.
Because he does so much, and a lot of what I'm able to do is because he does so much. Um, so I never wanted to ever be said that I did this on my own. I absolutely have not done this on my own. Because keep in mind, we have 2 children and now 2 dogs. There's no way I could do that on my own, nor would I want to try to do that on my own.
Right.
So I have to give him the acknowledgement for the pieces that he does. And even though he's not outwardly expressive, he does, I appreciate you. Thank you for doing this. And those
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
that communication is very important in order for you to feel validated. I mean, on your job, somebody saying good job can mean the difference between you staying there long term or
Right.
leaving.
You're looking for a job and leaving.
Money is important. Let me be absolutely clear. Money is important and it is a motivator, but at the same time, with it being that motivator, what's going to is it the big things that's going to keep me engaged and wanting to be there, or is it the smaller things that you're letting me know that you're seeing my work?
So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What are healthy forms of compensation in a partnership?
I'm gonna give 2 things, and I'll go back and add to it. Acknowledge me when I'm right, and correct me when I'm wrong. Don't have me out here looking stupid when I'm out the box, and let me know that I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
Those things are important.
So Lachelle said strange word. I'm wondering if she's thinking about compensation, right? And I'll tell you why I use that word if that's what you're talking about. Many people in a very it's not even intellectualization of it. It's just the way we are socialized. We think about things in terms of compensation for our effort, our work, our duties, right? And so if we think about things in a way that people actually are attending to them, then we can understand that that's why in today's society so many conversations are centered around what do you bring to the table, because people are looking for compensation, right? If we think about why people are so intent on the female aesthetic, it's because men want the compensation. Sister Kimber says this, and I think it's an awesome thought, that men date women for their bodies and women date men for their wallets, right? Because in many ways, that's the way we're socialized. And that's about compensation. As a man, I go to work, I do my thing because I want the finest, baddest, most beautiful woman, because that's a compensation for all that I do.
It is.
And then women want the man who can do all that because it's a compensation for her staying fit, looking good, providing the sexual desires that a man wants, providing the partnership, the nurturance for motherhood or the relationship. So if we think about it that way, and once again, we gotta be honest about how people think about it so that we can change it or modify the narrative, right? And then compensation is also a very real way that we oftentimes think about relationships, right? In a very transactional way.
If I do this, then I expect that.
And that's purely compensation. But if we thought about things in terms of transformational, then it's not about compensation, it's about collaboration.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's about mutual benefit, right? And mutual benefit ain't compensation. Mutual benefit is that if this is the house that we've made a home, then we both take care of it, right? We both appreciate it. We both live in this space and we make it a home and we enjoy each other. It's not about, I have to buy you a bigger ring every 5 years. It's about, babe, forget the ring thing. Let's buy a bigger house then, right? Or babe, let's take this trip. Or babe, we need to buy the kids a car, right? And then at some point, yes, we can get the bigger ring. But
honestly, if you pay attention to long-lasting marriages, rings don't really get bigger. They tend to get smaller. And because I mean, I had my first ring's pretty sizable. I don't want to wear it because it gets in my way. Matter of fact, I want to say this past Christmas, because I had started nursing school, I asked just for a band
Yeah.
because I still get to show that I'm married,
Yeah.
but washing my hands 50,000 times a day, putting on gloves and all that other stuff, like I don't have to worry about snagging nothing. And that's just,
Or ripping the setting off or knocking it.
yeah, it's just, it just becomes, it's annoying after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And the more people focus on things and less on the relationship itself. I mean, you're gonna get what you pay attention to. If you want the jewelry, you may get the jewelry and lose out on something else. And I see somebody says that I want it all. What does all look like? And what are you willing to deal with to get it all? Because I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, wanting to um wanting to have things. Yeah, I see everything, but what does that look like? What does that look like? We
I
we
got
did.
wait. I got one.
Mhm.
I got one for you. Here's the question. If you want everything, you want it all, what are you willing to
What are
give
you
up
gonna
for that?
give up for that?
What are you
Like, what
going
are
to
you
do?
willing to give up for that?
And it's not in any way, this time we spend is not about at any point um attacking anyone. So the question, Ayana, would be, it's fine. Tell me, if I give you everything, that means I'm gonna get everything.
Right.
If you want it all, then that means I want it all. And my joke,
Exactly.
but you and I have talked about this, right?
Hmm.
If you tell me you want it all, I
Hmm.
don't hear no. No is not an answer I get.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
if you say you want a new car, we go get the new car. But if I say I want
X Y
breakfast,
Z.
if I want breakfast at 2 in the morning, that's what I want, right? Or if I say I want a threesome, that's what I want. Or if I say I want you to, you know, have 5 kids, that's what I want.
Because it has to be an exchange. Because whatever you put in is what you should be willing to, like. You can demand what you're willing to put in.
Yeah.
You should be able to demand what you put in. And um you know fairness. I want that. I give that, so I want that. um
And here's the joke about it. Here's what's funny,
uh-huh.
right? Because really you could get everything. But
Hmm.
the question comes back to, what person is going to be willing to give you everything you want, but what also you'll be able to give them everything they want.
That part.
Because if it's not a exact thing 1-to-1, but I give you your one, I might want two though.
Right.
I'm giving you your one, you give me my two.
Yeah.
That go back
That
to something we talked about when people say always try to find somebody that love you more than you love them.
which
That
is
means you
weird.
is weird, right? But the
Which
whole
is
point
weird.
being what? That person will always try to shower you and adore you more than you have to them because they just happen to be loving you, right? But that don't always work out because at
Well,
some point,
people don't stay in that position though, because what they thought was shiny and new in the beginning, that eventually gets old.
right? Because every
Eventually,
shiny penny gets stalled.
it's gonna tarnish at some point.
Right.
And throughout relationships, like I said, Kamar and I've been together 21 years. I've had a couple near death experiences, and the biggest thing that I have had from him that matters so much was that he was there.
Yeah.
I have to look for him. I didn't have to find out, well, where's my husband? Because I'm going through this. Like, wait, no, get down.
Hold on,
Get
Michelle.
down.
Yeah, I did say dull on purpose, not tarnish. Okay.
No, I say tarnish. Because
No, no,
eventually
no.
what you thought was
I
shiny and new. Yeah.
I said dull meaning it get boring,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. It was.
I'm glad she picked up
This
on that.
was shiny.
Somebody got it. Yeah. I
This
mean,
was
it may start
shiny.
out shiny, but if it get dull, then that means it ain't fun. It's boring. And what do you do with the dirty penny?
Toss it.
Toss it, right?
Wishing well.
If you make it that far, right?
Right, exactly. So being realistic in your expectations of people, and being realistic
Yeah.
in what your deliverable is going to be with
Yeah.
people is
And
important.
that girl, Lachelle said, clean it sometimes. Hey, look. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna tell y'all a moment of transparency. I had a former girlfriend. We broke up, and
I said,
at one point we wound up having a communication, and this is the funny part. What she said was, "Yeah, I come a dime a dozen.
oh,
You lost me, right?" And so what I said was, I said, "Do you realize what you said, right?" I was like, "You're so intent on trying to prove your worth to me that you just basically cheapened yourself, right?"
uh,
So then we had a deeper conversation about how I never devalued her. It was just that we got to a point where
no, stop.
I wasn't, it wasn't worth it anymore, right?
Um,
And I was like, I see your value. It's just not what I want,
right.
right? Ayana, I agree with you. You don't have to do anything to be loved correctly. But what about the potential partner? Are you going to give the same to them? Do they have to do anything to be loved correctly? Or are you going to give the same thing? That's exactly, I think that actually nails on exactly what we were talking about tonight, right? Is that as a man, right? I'm gonna take my position. I don't feel like I have to make six figures to be considered a good partner,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if a woman tells, oh, you have to make this amount of money, you have to be able to do this type of stuff, then what I'm here for, right? So I think that's what Ayana you're pulling out, which is a great point, right? Is that so? What do we have to do in essence to get what we want? And we said this first and foremost: you have to know what you want, and
Right.
Ayana knows what she wants, right? That's fine. But then the traverse of that we brought out was, but what are you willing to do to get what you want? At what cost, right? And Ayana, the point is that you have to do anything. But if you're going to be in a committed, monogamous, exclusive relationship, then you ain't just sitting there,
Right. You're just not showing up.
right?
That
So
that
so
is not that's not how that goes.
and that goes back to, and that's the whole point of what we're saying now is this transactional or is this transformational,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if we're just transacting, then yes, it is going to be based upon what you do and how well you do it. And do you do it by yourself, or do you bring a friend, or do you do it in the morning, or do you do it at night? I do not eat green eggs and ham.
You are
I do
so
not eat them Sam
disgusting.
I am. I do not eat them in a box. I do not eat them with a fox. I do not eat them in my socks.
We really going to Dr. Seuss? Okay.
Blair had me reading that last week, I think.
Oh,
So
okay.
she was on the Dr. Seuss, right?
Yeah.
So
So like you don't have to do
hold on,
anything.
Michelle, what Jeff said.
He said, bro, Jeff is right. About what?
Oh,
Jeff
she's
is
talking
right
that
about what?
that polygamy stuff. Jeff says I want to be in a polyamorous relationship all the time, but he says that just to bring people to the show
To the
when we do.
conversation. Yeah. Because no.
It's just sensationalism, Michelle. Don't believe that. Don't believe that. Don't believe that.
No. Actually, no, that's not what he wants. He wants to be with a person, not yeah, not multiple people. First of all, that's a headache.
I mean, sometimes on a Friday night it's not a headache, but I
But a
got you.
consistent relationship with three people.
How you know?
I've dated again. Know they used to call me a serial dater. Having a
Okay.
okay, no, this person. All right, this is the personality I'm dealing with today. This is the
Oh no.
personality I'm dealing with.
I'm
No, that
calling
is
my friend. I'm
after a
calling my friend.
while. That is draining. It's like
Hey, look, wait. I'll make you laugh. I'll make you laugh because you know these and we coming to the end. I gotta eat. We're coming to the end, right? But
uh-huh.
but there have been a number of these stories about women who have multiple partners. Even when we look through society, right? What we have to be honest about is that this idea of um overwhelming monogamy is actually inaccurate. If
Mm-hmm.
you look in the Bible, the majority of men had multiple wives. And then if you look historically, there have been multiples in many of societies where women had multiple lovers. Many Native American tribes, right? You were not forced to have one partner,
Right.
right? Or you were not forced to be in a committed relationship beyond the time you wanted to. If you and your
Right.
partner decided, hey, look, man, we've been together 20 years. I really love you and all, but I think I want to try something new. Like and I want to be happy. So we'll end this and we can move on and we'll take care of whatever we have to do, and we'll be that, right? But we don't have to. We can end amicably and move on. But this idea, right? So, but I say that because once again, that's another notion of if you want something, right? How do you present it? Who are you presenting it to? What's the cost to get what you say you want, right?
The piece that I want to bring your attention to about what you're saying in terms of one-to-one relationships. Kamara and I had this conversation a long time ago. Monogamy is not natural. It's not. But that is something that we committed to, because dealing with multiple people is just exhausting after a while. In the dating process, it's a lot, because you want to look just like when you go into when you go into certain restaurants. Okay, I'm not going to the restaurant and order the same thing every time. I don't want to go to the same restaurant every time.
Right.
But it was a choice, because again, for me, consistency means a lot. So
Right.
I know that regardless of the situation that we are going through or things that we're dealing with, we're gonna figure out a way to make it through. That's consistent. That's safe. That feels safe for me.
Right.
But managing multiple relationships, again, I have a very serious fight or flight syndrome. So my first move, like, okay, you said this or you did this. All right, I'm gonna head out. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the relationship is over. But for me, I need to feel emotionally safe. So rather than go ride this roller coaster with you, I gotta go. So and then if you rarely will find, is for people who are interested in dating multiple people or being with multiple people at a time, you rarely find the same safety.
Right.
You very rarely find the same safety. And for people who are okay with not having that safety, then okay, that's another thing. But for me, that is emotionally unsafe for me.
So I think you nailed that. And I think that's also indicative of what we're also talking about across the board. People have to be willing to be honest about what they want. Because you very well might, to Ayana's point, find the partner who's willing to ride that ride with you. But if you are going to endeavor upon that opportunity or this space with someone and they not all the way sold, you're going to come up short. Or you might get rolled.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do, right? When we talk happily married, happily single, the point is that, we got to make people understand this stuff, Kim. We got to understand this stuff, baby. You can't just be telling somebody you want everything.
Right. What does everything look like? And we have to get better about communicating that. And even in my friendships, like, hey, I don't like that. Or, hey, that didn't feel good when you said that. But in my relationships, what I have gotten better to is like, all right, if it looked like a duck and quack like a duck, I'm gonna head out.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine with your romantic relationships. So they're like, this does not feel good to me. And I've told you how I felt about it. I've reminded you how I felt about it. And if I have to remind you again or keep reminding you, you're letting me know how you feel about me, and that you're telling me that you don't care about me. So I can let go of this.
Exactly. And look, and one of my final points for the night, really bringing me to, something that I will say, and I think we talked about it before, but I know for me, one of the things I've assessed this with brothers, but many men are looking for comfort, right? And that comfort is kind of Tayana's point, right? Like that's kind of my everything. I want to be comfortable at home. I want to be comfortable in a relationship. I want to be comfortable with you, right? And so what I will ask people to do and to endeavor upon as we leave on this evening is to truly think about what you want, not a material thing, right? Not a physical, like tangible thing, but really think about what you want in your relationships, romantic, familial, peer, whatever it may be, right?
Platonic.
what is it that how do you want to feel about the relationship, right? How
Mhm.
do you want to make the other person feel, right? So like, very easy. As we was talking earlier about intimacy versus being intimate, right? Well, I know with intimacy, I'm trying to have sex. I want you to have orgasm. I want you to feel good, right? With intimate, but when I'm intimate, I want you to. Well, I said that wrong. When we're intimate in the act, that's sex.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
intimacy, I want you to feel valued. I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to feel safe. I want you to feel like this is a space where you can be yourself, right? If you make a mistake, right? I'm not gonna use it against you. I'm not gonna exploit you, right? Those are things, and I've been doing this work around this with couples a lot of really trying to move to that point of like be honest about if and Kim, but what you made me think about this more so when you said like it's that thing about like when you're trying to be with someone like yeah, what do you want to give? So I want to give my partner comfort, right? I don't want to have to fight about these things, right? I shouldn't have to fight about making you comfortable. I shouldn't have to fight about making you feel valued. I shouldn't have to trick myself, or you shouldn't have to trick to me to make me feel the way that you want to feel, right? I
Right.
should wake up wanting you to feel appreciated and adored. And that's what you were saying. I really appreciate that. What you were saying about the work you and Kamara do consistently is take
Mhm.
time to talk about it. And I know you shared with me some things where like you felt one way and you was like, ah, and then you went and like, oh, he fixed it.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. But we don't. And so I'm not saying like what we do, we always get it right because we don't. Like we have you can't expect that you're gonna get it right all the time, but you have to be committed to making it better
Process.
and getting it
Yeah,
right. So
yeah.
yeah, that's the piece that I don't know that everybody has that wherewithal or has that idea about relationships, but that really in terms of getting into a relationship, getting beyond just the courting stage, like if when you look up and look at that and be like, oh, you still here,
Right,
oh,
right.
what does that part look like? And if they are showing you if they're showing you behaviors that you don't like prior
Mm-hmm.
to, you have the right to exit and not
Exactly.
stay there just for the sake of staying in there.
Right, right,
But you got to
right.
communicate what you want and tell them what you don't like. Look like you got something that you got to handle.
No, no, you got me thinking. Like I usually be so excited about getting started. When I'm done, I'd be exhausted because I didn't gave so much. But right now, you got me thinking about this thing called like reciprocity,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when I think about it, right, that's kind of to me that's the calling card of a good, healthy relationship. And we've talked about this before. It's not that I give you one and you give me one.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you give me one, but I might have to give you two because that one was so big. Or
Mm-hmm.
I might only have to give you a half, right? And that's what you were saying in regards to not gender roles in relationship, but division of labor in a relationship, right?
Correct.
You
Correct.
know, as I've said before, my joke is I would have loved to have been Serena, stay-at-home doctor, husband, baby daddy, all that, right? But I didn't get that chance, so I gotta get over it, right? But I'm okay with that, right? I gotta work,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I would have done that. I would have been that for her. Y'all tell her, let her know if old boy, or if Alexis ever
You don't
mess
want to
up,
raise no more kids.
huh?
You don't want to raise no more kids. She just added one to the pile.
I know that's why I'm kind of mad, but I gotta let go of that. I'm gonna let go of Serena. You know what? I'm letting go of Serena for 24. All right, I'm gonna let go of Serena. I gotta
Tracy
find.
Ellis is still available, and she don't want no kids.
Yeah, Tracy, fine too. Tell her I let your boy. You hear me? Run that up. Run that up. Then. Let's see what's on. Let's see what's on.
For sure.
Let's see.
Well, that is a good place to stop.
Yeah.
And while you're bushing, I really have been saying I want to meet this person, and then the next week I end up in the spaces meeting people. It is the wildest thing.
Now, look, I'm gonna tell you like this, you heard me. If you run up on Tracy Ellis Ross,
I got you.
wherever I'm at, I'm leaving. I'm coming. I'm going to pull up on ya. Pull up on ya. Hey, look.
I got you covered. I got you covered.
Hey, tell her,
Y'all,
look.
thank you for joining us tonight for Happily Married, Happily Single. Which one are you? We gotta open up the conversation, and we gotta open up and not even be vulnerable, but be honest about what it is. About what it is that you want, and telling people what you don't like, because the only way that you're gonna get into a happy relationship is if you assist the person you're building a relationship with creating that for y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So you got any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
I just want to reiterate what you said. I think that's a dope closing. All I'm gonna say is this: whether you're happily married or happily single, we just want you to be happy. Thank y'all for coming out, baby. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Peace.
Yes. Thank you. God bless you. Good night. Have a good one, y'all. All right. Let's see where we close out. I think my computer was asleep. It's like, you really want to end this? Yes, right now.